Hello, my name is Benjamin Bucior. I'm a senior data scientist at CSL, and today I'm excited to show you how frameworks such as Shiny can help bring your data and models to life. First, a quick note, any opinions shared here are my own and not necessarily those of my current or past employers. So whenever I think about working with data, there's a lot in common with visiting a museum or taking a class. There's a lot of ways to learn. One would be through written text, a textbook, a lecture, a little placard. If you're trying to learn gears, if you've never seen a gear before, that might be a bit difficult, so a picture can be really immensely helpful. If I was trying to see how many times the blue gear would spin for every revolution of the red gear, I'm sure you could apply the formula and get the answer. But if I'm trying to learn how gears work more generally, say I swap out the blue gear for a white gear, I find it immensely useful if I can tangibly play with it and work with it. And so that's really what the core of the concept of a living app is there a way to build this excitement, get hands-on experience with it, gain the intuition, gain the spark, the element of play as much as possible. So now that we've introduced the concept, I'd like to go through an example of how my team has used forecasting, some of the impacts, how the collaboration works with our stakeholders, and then end with a couple of tips that can make or break your app. Often, how a lot of forecasting journeys I've seen start is a simple question of what's the volume for the next month, next year, next 5 years, some time period. Maybe break this up by different product numbers or locations. And so you can go through and do an ad hoc analysis, do a time series or other methods, get a number, send it by email, presentation, maybe an API or spreadsheet. At some point, folks want to dig in deeper. So this is where a lot of times business intelligence reports, dashboarding can come in, where the user can drill down into the data themselves and ask more targeted questions, maybe filter out a specific region or look at different time periods and get a little bit more targeted with the questions. But at some point, they become a lot more questions, especially whenever predictive modeling is in the mix, asking, well, what if this was different in the future? Say, for example, what if COVID got worse? Or why did this specific thing happen? Or you predicted sales, but can we predict this other thing? Or just simply, what are the various scenarios that could play out? So it was around this time that we started to ask ourselves, what's the realm of the possible? And I started to learn Shiny. So this slide will be a bit technical with some code, but it'll be the only one like that. Okay, so one of the really powerful things about the Shiny framework in particular is its open source nature built on web technologies like HTML, JavaScript, CSS. So here we have a plot, output, and an input. And you can see that whenever you run these commands, you basically just get HTML back. So what's really great about this is if you're, say, developing a new prototype working with your stakeholders, you don't really have to deal with this right side so much, at least not immediately. If you can set up like a skeleton with just the inputs and outputs, start positioning things, see what the flow looks like instead of going through all the effort of hooking up a lot of things and debugging it and finding out that you built the wrong thing. This is also really helpful for learning more about the domain, especially if you make an assumption that the data looks a certain way, but actually the interpretation is a little bit different. What's also really great about this approach is that it's highly iterative, so you don't have to start with a working server, but you could also, for example, use some dummy data or some slightly higher fidelity data before finally getting to the fully correct connections with your data. What's also really great about this is it's highly scalable. So there's a really great talk from Emily Reeder, and I think she has a blog post as well, talking about the use of Shiny modules. example here on the right, where you can make these pieces a lot more modular, like a function, and build them up. And this can scale to thousands or tens of thousands of lines of code, which is really immensely powerful. The other great thing about this is that because it's built on open source technologies, it's fully customizable. So for example, this select input, if you need to change the font color, worst case, you could always apply a change to your style sheet or other changes such as like positioning, or really get it exactly how you want it. Here's an example of what a Shiny dynamic model could look like. So here what we're looking at is a ranking algorithm where if you wanted to identify a location for a new initiative, you might say have a few variables you want to consider for that initiative. Here I'm using a 70-30 split of two, but very quickly you get into questions of, well, what if I want to upweight this one to 80-20, or I want to add in another operational factor, or there's an external factor I want to include, like population growth. How do you account for all of these various inputs? And so what's really great about this is in this app, users can literally just bump it up to 75-25, see what happens, and quickly get a sense for what variables are important, what variables are not important, what are the limits of your assumptions. And it's immensely powerful getting that kind of dynamic feedback to get an intuition for the model and to build trust. So putting those pieces together, there's a lot of different ways you can deliver model outputs. So sometimes all you need is a number, and so there's no reason to go any deeper. Sometimes a business intelligence type report is great. Depending on the use case, if you're solving really big problems for the company, developing this intuition is immensely valuable, and having these conversations and partnerships between the data side, subject matter side, the business side, bringing everyone together. What's also great about this is that you don't have to boil the ocean and start all the way on the right side. You can be delivering value incrementally, understanding, building that understanding as you go. So one thing that's really exciting about this as well is that then you can bring it all together into a platform that combines several models. So here I have a earlier prototype name here called Project Coco, where we can look at the whole span of descriptive through prescriptive analytics. So sometimes you might just be coming to this understanding what data do we have about something. Sometimes you might want to run a full simulation. And so that helps drive adoption. This tool is used by some folks on a daily basis. And it also helps it be able to put various pieces together and understand the business a lot more holistically than if you were looking at a single lens at a time. The piece I'd like to end with is that a few small changes, sometimes not so small, but a few changes can really make a huge difference in the adoption of your apps. So the first and probably simplest approach is, if your organization has a branding guide, please apply it if you aren't already. It's the single easiest thing to do to make your app look a lot more professional. The second broad topic is finding places to reduce friction for your app. So one would be on this example in the top right. In that table, all of these locations were hyperlinks, and you could quickly gain more information just by clicking and dig deeper. That helps to be able to go back and forth really quickly to understand the deeper context whenever trying to understand what these models are saying. Using benchmarking tools within Posit Workbench or other IDEs is also immensely helpful, trying to get the app to be as responsive as possible. Sometimes that's not entirely possible. For example, if you're running a long, complicated simulation, in that case, giving the user some feedback so they know that the app hasn't crashed is also helpful. Finally, finding ways to integrate this app with existing tools and workflows is great. So you can, for example, if there's a specific type of spreadsheet or report that the business needs, or a graph that they frequently need to report, building those directly in and automating that as much as possible is immensely powerful and helps, again, reduce that friction and reduce a lot of unnecessary work. Overall, there's many ways to deliver solutions with data and models. One is using these interactive data visualizations, living apps that can encapsulate multiple models or data sources or visualization outputs or even other sorts of outputs like spreadsheets to facilitate this collaboration and working more deeply together with your partners. And a few subtle changes to the user experience can help build trust. This project or any of this work wouldn't have been possible without my awesome team. Some of them are pictured here on the slide. Many thanks to my team. Thank you for your time. And please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much.